Hello again, everybody. I hope you guys are ready for this next review because I'm going to be taking a look at one of my most recent additions to my DVD collection. Cause what better and today's DVD that I'll be reviewing is Joyful Holiday. So, let's cut the chatter and get on to the history of this release. Joyful Holiday was first released onto DVD on November 14th, 2014 by Kaboom Entertainment. This DVD is one of the few in my collection that doesn't get a whole lot of recognition, as after this date, it just disappeared, and hardly anybody knew that this release even existed. It remains a mystery to why this DVD has so few releases, as well as a few others from the said show. My main reason why is because since the show only ran for 2 years, it has so few releases, and most of them are quite rare. But other than that, that wraps up the short history. Now let's go on to our episodes. So Joyful Holiday contains a mix of 3 episodes and all of them are from Season 1. Holly's Joyful Holiday, Dot and the Starcatcher, and Ace in the Hole. So, let's begin with our first episode, Holly's Joyful Holiday. It's Christmas in La La Loopsy Land, and Holly has to deliver the presents to her many friends. But unfortunately, with no snow, it becomes harder than she thought. Meanwhile, when the snow does start, and when her friends have finished up rehearsing for the carols for caroling that evening, it's up to them to find Holly and her group in the bitter cold. This episode is f***ing awesome. It's no question that this episode is so atmospheric. Say what you want, but this is a good balanced episode compared to some other ones that I've seen. Now, I know this is obviously the first episode I watched of the DVD, and I think it prevails in terms of episodes. But the one question I have is, how did it turn from no snow into a load of snow so late in the episode? The weather is really mixed up in this episode. But the one thing that I do enjoy is how in tune the Carolyn song at the ending is. So even though some people wouldn't consider this a fan favorite, I really enjoy it, and I think it's one of the best holiday specials I've seen. 10 out of 10. Now we move on to our second episode, Dot and the Starcatcher. Dot catches wind of a fallen star and wants to catch it so she can study it. Bee and Peanut accompany her, but when Dot catches the star, it turns out to be too much for her. Meanwhile, Sunny's sister Barry falls ill, and Jewel joins Sunny and Barry for her annual camping trip in Barry's place. But it turns out that the camping trip, that Jewel's ways of camping are different from Sunny's. This episode is quite unique in a sense, and if it's not if it's not Dot that makes this episode great, it's easily Sunny and Jewel. Jewel is definitely one of my favorite characters from the series, and she's mostly part of the focus for this episode. On a visual level, I think this episode is pretty good, and call me crazy, but this episode is one of my favorites on this release. However, even though it's not a Christmas special episode, I think it makes up for that by splitting the episode by using the split format in this episode to its advantage. But the one question I have is the star format. It's completely mixed up. But other than that, there's nothing more I can say about this episode in terms of problems. And I do quite enjoy it a lot. So like I said, this episode is pretty much my favorite on the release, and I really enjoy it to a huge extent. 10 out of 10. And now we have our final episode, Ace in the Hole. Ace can't seem to tune up Tippy's gramophone for her recital that afternoon, and he causes even more problems when he manages to take a lot of mechanical items from his other friends' things. Meanwhile, because of the hot sunny weather, Ember tries to cool down the land, but it accidentally drains Tippy's pond. What can I know. I'm just gonna come right out and say it. This episode, I have a very distinct memory of watching this episode. I do remember seeing it on Treehouse, and I do like it to a big extent after rewatching it, even though I hardly remembered it. But the one thing to me that literally makes no f***ing sense is Ace. Taking apart all those items didn't solve his f***ing problem, and it just made it worse. Yeah, I don't really see the point of taking stuff apart. If it's broken, don't keep breaking it. So what gives? But I'd say, I'd go so far to say, however, that Tippy and Ember make this episode a whole lot better, and while the ending does sound a little cliche, I think it's a pretty good one. To finish off the DVD, it may not sound like a very good one, but I still really enjoy it. And I'm giving it a 10 out of 10. So what do I think about Joyful Holiday? Plain and simple, this release is amazing. Based on my scores, I think this is a perfect release. Because I'm a real sucker for these episodes when I first watched the two of them and rewatched one of the other one, and I think this DVD is a perfect one. It dives into something completely new when it comes to the episode selection, but that's what makes it unique in a sense. These episodes mesh together to create an episode that is totally worthwhile and one I could rewatch again. If any of you are fans of any of the series or any of these episodes, I highly recommend getting this release. And that does it for this review. I'd like to say thank you to all of you for watching this rather short review, and feel free to check out my playlist featuring the other two DVD reviews that is in the playlist that I've put in the description. So what am I going to do for the next review? Well, there's one of my holiday VHS tapes that I want to take a look at. So let's go see our two best friends as they try to deliver a present to good old Saint Nick. See you guys next time.